Kings, not much going on the Kings front right now. It's not like they're doing draft prep.
It's a little too quiet.
Right, I know. Which I don't even know if that applies. I don't know this front office, so I don't know if that applies to them or not. Like on one hand, it's like it's quiet, too quiet. On the other hand, it might just be quiet, nothing's going on. But there are rumors galore. It's so funny. There's I forget the guy's name, but somebody on Twitter brought up the idea of DeMar DeRozan for Jrue Holiday on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. Celtics won't do that. Well, now that seems to have caught on. I don't think necessarily from his tweet, but now you have actual journalists with a capital J saying that the Kings are rumored to be interested in Jrue Holiday. Now, look, I love Jrue Holiday. I absolutely love Jrue Holiday. And normally that's like preceded with a but. There's not much of a but there other than the following. Jrue Holiday is not a young man. That being said, Jrue Holiday continues to have very productive years and, just won a championship with Boston last year as a key cog to that team and would have, I think very likely with Cleveland going down, Jason Tatum not gotten hurt, who knows what would have happened in that series. But very well could have been on their way back to the NBA Finals. Jrue Holiday, his numbers are not going to jump off the page at you. This is one of those guys where you got to kind of you don't have to be a hoop head to know him. Obviously, he's a star. He's an all-star. He's a perennial defensive player, first, second team, either entrant or nominee. But when you look at his numbers, okay, if I was just to say, if you didn't know who Jrue Holiday was, and I would say, okay, well, here's who the Kings are looking to acquire. He's 34 years old. He'll be 35 in less than a month. He averages probably about 60 games a year. Played 62 last year. He averages 11 points, 4 assists, a little over 4 rebounds, half a block, and a steal. And he shoots 44, 35, and 91. Good splits. Decent enough, at least. But 11 points and 4 assists for a 35-year-old point guard who, by the way, your 35-year-old point guard is going to make $32 million next year, $35 million the year after, and then has a player option for $37 million, meaning that he is owed over $100 million over the next 3 years, and he will be 35, 36, and 37. I love Jrue Holiday. This would be a silly, silly move for the Kings, and I'll tell you why. Let's say, first off, in order to make the trade work, it would have to be I would imagine it's DeMar DeRozan, but it would have to be DeMar DeRozan and $10 million more of whatever. And that's, by the way, if the Celtics would even do that without some sort of draft compensation or a Devin Carter type, some sort of young prospect. Jrue Holiday is the guy that you bring in like Fred VanVleet. Jrue Holiday is the guy that you bring in when you have a young, up-and-coming team with a bunch of youngsters that don't really know how to be NBA players yet, but they have talent through the roof. And you're bringing a guy in Jrue Holiday to stabilize everything, to teach to have the conversations with them on the team bus after the third loss in the row and on the road, and they're in Philadelphia, and the Daubers are down, and here's Jrue Holiday to teach them how to be a pro. That's Jrue Holiday. I always preach defense. You're not going to get much better. You're not going to get much better. I don't care how old he is. You're not going to get much better than Jrue Holiday at point guard defensively. Somebody points out, Aaron, I think he's actually right that I forgot they have that trade exception they could use. I would rather have Jrue Holiday than DeMar DeRozan on this team just on spec. My big issue would be, for what purpose? What are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win 5 more games? You probably will. But now all of a sudden you're taking on $100+ million over 3 years for an aging point guard on a team that already has vets. What's he going to teach Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine? I do like the idea of Jrue Holiday working with Keon Ellis. But that is more of a retool move. You're not going to hear me rip. I'm not going to do the angry thing about Jrue Holiday. But the moves that the Kings are going to make are going to very much signal where they're thinking. That is a retool move. That is not a rebuild move. That is we want to get back into the play-in / playoffs any way possible, and we're fine being if we get a 6 seed, we get into the playoffs, or we play our way in, that's fine. But we're just rinsing and repeating at that point. Love Jrue Holiday. Don't see it as a good move for the Sacramento Kings in the overall plan, if you will, whatever that may be. We'll take a break. When we return, his name ain't the only name in the news. There's another guy. We'll get to that probably at 9 because we have who's hot, who's not, and we got to go streaking. We'll do all that in just 3 minutes.
You never know what you might hear.